Greetings, pilots and passengers. So today is the first ever episode of the Dare to Talk podcast. Very exciting. I'm Emily. You probably already know who I am, who runs Dare to Fly and all crazy content from paranormal to Freemasons and everything in between. And I'm joined by my wonderful host, who's afeared. So who are you?
Me?
Yes.
I'm Who's Afeared. That's it. I'm Who's Afeared. All right, I'll say my name and you'll hear it just the once. Okay, my name's Gary, but I'm Who's Afeared. I'm Who's Afeared on YouTube. I'm Who's Afeared on Twitter. I'm Who's Afeared for the work that I do. Why am I Who's Afeared? Because I always put the challenge out there. Who's Afeared? Not I.
Yeah. It's great because you post a lot of really interesting Twitter content, and I think being Who's Afeared is you challenge everything, you rise to the challenge, and you make everyone else challenge what they think as well.
Well, do you know what, you put me on the spot there because a lot of what I put out is complete blether. But
well, it gets people thinking.
Thank you for the compliment. So I've got to throw back. Who are you?
I'm Emily. I run Dare to Fly as my channel. A bit of background about that is that so I went to uni and studied journalism, and I've always had a thing for writing. And then I thought, you know what, I really like journalism. It'll probably be a good way for me to be able to do the writing that I enjoy. But when I was at university, I enjoyed it, but we sort of told the only way you'll ever get to be a journalist is by doing BBC, Sky News, ITV, going down an industry route that is reporting what people tell you to report. So you're not actually doing it yourself, you're not, reporting the truth and what's actually...
It's the death sign for bullshit, which is what
yes. And then from there, I mean, I originally wanted to do gaming journalism because I like gaming. But then when I got to about third year, everything just changed. It literally flipped on its head. And then Dare to Fly was sort of born in January. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to pursue starting my own platform and just do everything myself and cover all this stuff because I think I care more about this stuff than I do gaming, like, and I mean, I got told by my lecturer, so you're going to be unemployed then, you're not going to have a job. And he sort of implied that...
How many times have we heard that?
Yeah. And he sort of implied that what I'm doing means I will never ever be able to be a proper journalist ever because I've screwed myself over. And I said, well, you know what? I don't want to go to BBC and do all that. But yeah, anyway, so then this started in March properly, me and my dad, and just pursuing it ever since, and it's been awesome. And then me and you, we decided to do the podcast, which was another...
How originally did we start communicating?
We started communicating on Twitter because I used to suffer a lot of digestive issues and IBS and such, and you got me onto the carnivore diet. And then from there, we both, through talking over Skype, we discovered we have a lot in common and we believe a lot of the same things. And that's when you sort of started going on your spiritual journey, didn't you?
Yeah, it's been a rapid one, a very rapid one. I should just add that, the reason that I responded to Emily on Twitter was because she put out a tweet of that nature, that she was having issues. And I'm a functional health coach. That's what I did for a living. Although since Boris and the gang decided to screw us all over with what's happened this year, it kind of dropped off a cliff. But nonetheless, that's, it's on its way back up, which is a great thing. So that's how Emily and I started communicating. and took a few messages to get her to
Yeah.
chill out a little bit and say, "Go on, then give me a call. Let's have a Skype call."
Yeah, and it's one of the best. It's probably one of the best decisions I made, because not only have you helped me, take control of my health and start actually understand food more and nutrition, and actually who's essentially on the way to curing me, I would say. But also, you've become one of, a really good friend, and
Thank you,
we have
sweetheart. So have you.
we've become, we talk about everything, and I think, you know, it's
So
amazing. So
we were going to do this on Friday morning, didn't we?
yeah,
Didn't we? Weren't we? I should say we were going to do this on Friday morning, and I requested that we chop it because I'd had a couple of nights of not so fantastic sleep, lots of dreaming, but broken sleep. And then stupidly on Friday morning, I opened up Twitter, as I always do after I get up, get a cup of coffee on the go. And I decided that I was going to engage with the odd Muppet or two on Twitter on Friday morning, which kind of set me further on edge after the 2 nights of not so good sleep. So I wasn't functioning properly up here. So we thought we'll leave it to Sunday morning and then get cracking again on Sunday morning and have a good chat. And that's kind of where we're going today. Is perhaps we've had a discussion via text saying what should we talk about today, and I suggested the subject of, well, why don't we use Friday morning as a good start to the podcast and finding a little bit of inner peace. So that's where we're going to go this morning, and we're just going to let the conversation flow, and hopefully the nerves don't continue to keep kicking in, and the fact that this is the first recording that we're doing of the podcast, because I'd like to settle down into a more natural flow rather than feeling like I'm on TV.
So what, in regards to, because obviously you mentioned about Twitter, and I think that sort of going back to that, to get on track with the inner peace thing, is I think at the moment Twitter is quite a battleground.
Yeah.
And I can, you were completely, we talked about it briefly on, Friday, about how it's like everyone's just at war with each other.
Yeah.
But also that people are panicking a lot and freaking out. So, what are what?
It's right. I get straight to the point because that's kind of like my modus operandi. It's if you're going to find inner peace, you have to believe in what's going on. If you think that there is a nefarious plan on the go, that is what your thinking is, and that will drive your belief system. And I don't believe that there's a nefarious plan going on. I think that's been pushed to one side rather nicely. And I think there's a certain group of people who we all need to get behind. And we do need to get behind them so that we can change our belief. I've changed mine, change our belief, find inner peace and go, do you know what? I'm with these guys, not with that bunch of dickheads over there. And I think once we can get our heads around that, and in order to do that, you've got to go and find out. You've got to go and have a look. If you're looking for information to guide you, and what you are finding is scaring you witless, you have to ask yourself, and this is how I coach people as well, it's like, it's not about telling people what to eat. It's not about telling people how to train or exercise. I can do that all day long. I've had people say to me, oh, look, I just want to lose weight. Give me a list of foods to eat, and I'll go away and eat them. But that's not how it works. That is not how it works at all. It's the big question is why? Why are you doing this? And once you can settle the answer to that question in your head as to why you're doing this, then you can go and find out how you can go about doing it and understand what's going on. Understand, certainly from a health coaching point of view. understanding and learning how the human body works. Because once you get that down and you understand that, I love bars of chocolate, well, you can eat bars of chocolate if you want to. But once you figure out how it affects you as an individual, then maybe you can understand that you can have a bar of chocolate, just not every single day of the week like you used to do. Because it's screwing you over and it's causing you problems with your health, and it's causing you to gain weight. And it's the same thing with what we're talking about with Twitter. If what you're seeing that everybody is putting out, and bless them, you're right, they are scared. They're scared witless. But there's some good stuff out there. All you got to do is go and look for it and find it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because I mean, I saw on yesterday someone had tweeted along the lines of, people just need to realize and accept that the world is evil and inherently evil. And that was one of them tweets where, like you said, it's when you start thinking a certain way, that's because you think it and then you believe it, and it sort of becomes real.
Yeah.
Because obviously thoughts have a lot of power. But it's one of them tweets where it's like, I thought, well, it's quite a, it's like when people say rose-tinted glasses, it's the same thing as that. It's someone wearing, these glasses where they just think everything around them is bad.
Yeah.
And it's the difficulty with, the problem with that is, it's not that the world isn't evil. If humans disappeared from the world would, it
still
would
carry on.
It would still keep spinning, and as well, it would probably be a bit of a better place. I wouldn't doubt that. But also, it's not that the world's evil. It's not you. Then it's as well. It's not that people are evil. It's that there's a handful of people who I wouldn't say are evil, because
they're psychotic. Let's get to the point. They are absolutely psychotic.
Evil's a very strong word, so it has a lot of meaning. So I would say it's a handful of people who don't have, people's best interests at heart. Put it that way, because we can't, jump into the conclusion that everything is evil and everything is bad. Is just, well, if that's the case, then you'd see no beauty in the world whatsoever. But you know what I mean? It's one of them tweets where I thought, that's the problem. That is, it makes me sad to see that people think that. But then I think it's because, like you said, they jump onto certain things. Like when you see so much negativity all the time, you start thinking it and you start believing it.
I was watching you hit up on a word a few paragraphs back, acceptance. I was watching the brilliant Charlie Freak a couple of nights back. Last night, I think it was last night or the night before. And he's put out a video talking about what they have done. They in kill brackets, and anybody that puts the word in they in kill brackets immediately understands who we're talking about. He put out a video about what they have done to us, and he was bang on, absolutely bang on. Everything. And I had this conversation with my sadly now ex-closest friend. I haven't spoken to him for a couple of months, but you never know, it might spark up again. But we had this conversation last year, and we were talking, and I said to him, in my opinion, everything that we have and do is by design. And he looked at me and went, get stuffed. And I said, no, I believe, because he was talking about the fact that we have free will, and that is very, very true. But in my opinion, our free will has been hijacked and is being manipulated by them in kill brackets. And we have the power to change that. We have the absolute power to change that. So if you accept that the world is an evil place, you can also accept that the world is a really, really, really good place. And you can also accept that you alone have the power to change that. You can stop everything. If you're sat in a chair and you get up and you walk to the other side of the room, you do that. You don't try to do that. you do that. You either do or you don't. Once we can accept that we can go within, we can find that within ourselves and cheer up, change the belief, and accept that they haven't got control. They do not have control. They have to tell, but from my research and understanding, and I know you've looked heavily as well, is they have to tell us everything that they're going to do. And then they need our consent to do it. And we have been asleep for such a long time. And we've allowed that to happen. So it's on us. What's the Latin words? Mea culpa. It's on us. And it's on us to say, fuck you.
Exactly.
Yeah? It stops. It stops.
Part of that whole thing with free will is...
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course you can.
Cool. Brilliant, thanks.
You're not going to limit anyone's speech. Part of, like you said, the world is by design. This physical world. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's part of, like I sort of covered with, like, a belief that we're in sort of a spiritual matrix. We come down, we live a lesson, and then our life is a lesson in these human body bags. We walk around, we live a lesson. What that lesson is very personal, and then we return back upstairs again, essentially. That's what I strongly believe. So yes, the world is by design to be this way for a reason. What that reason is, it's, we're never going to really know, and I doubt our human brains can really comprehend it. But we still have free will, and that free will, I think there's some people who...
We've always had free will.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
One thing that we all have. We've got free will.
But yeah. I think there's a lot of people in the world, their life path is just set to go a certain way, to be some sort, I guess you could say, destiny, and they can't avoid that. But they still have free will, because what you choose to do, and everyone else around them has free will. So what happens in your life?
Is their destiny set in stone, though? That's the question I have.
think there's, some people's destiny are literally... What I've sort of believe is that before you're born, you go through your life plan, like reading over a book. Your soul reads over this. If you want to physically comprehend it as a book, you look through it and you sort of agree, these are the things I'm going to do. You already know the people who you meet with in human life. And some people have a very destined life plan, because their mission in life is to do that thing, so they can learn a certain lesson. But of course, along the way, they still have free will. But say if their life plan was to be, I don't know, you could even say part of a dark occult group, and say their whole life was to be a part of a occult group that does bad things.
Yeah.
Not saying that all occult groups do bad things, but one that, may do so. But then down their path, they decide to leave. Let's say they somehow, get drawn back to it like a magnet and fall into it again. So it's like they constantly, you can have wobbles off the road, but you will still get drawn back to that thing. Like some may say, with me,
question. Sorry to interrupt. No, I've broken your flow of conversation there. But my question is this: I can understand if they're born into that, and that's the way that they are trained and educated from birth. But they still have the opportunity, and you hit upon it just there as you were going through. They still have the opportunity to move out of that if they choose, which is where the free will comes in.
Yeah, but in certain situations and certain people's life paths, I think they are just destined to live a certain life. As in, say with me with Dare to Fly, I might choose to go off and do something else. But I, and this is my genuine thought, is that I will, even if I decided, you know what, I'm going to go get a full-time job where I actually
Oh, don't do that.
And they just sit theoretically, I go
Sure.
and get a full-time job and leave this behind. I genuinely think things will happen which will stop me from really doing that, because I think this is what I'm supposed to do, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
just saying like, oh, it's my destiny to be this way and all this. I'm just saying, I mean, I've tried to do other things, that I've been applying for other jobs months ago when I was stressing over stuff. I would apply for loads of jobs, and for some of them I got to the interview stage, but things would happen where I just wouldn't get it, and then I would straight away just go back to making content, and then it hit me as well, things happen for a reason, and I'm
Yep.
supposed to be doing this. And I think if we sort of tie that back to, inner peace in a way, is during that time I was so turbulent. I was up and down all over the place, stressing. And then one day it just hit me of, this is what I'm doing. This is my purpose in life, is to, share positivity, reveal truth, so to speak. And then I sort of found a bit more inner peace, because then I actually have something to focus on.
Yeah. So given that then, do you think that everything that we're going through is as it should be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I agree
think
with you.
I completely agree, because you
Yeah.
said, what are your thoughts on that? Because you tweet a lot about that everything is going to plan. So
Yeah. Well, that's I only came to the 17th letter of the alphabet 9 months ago, when all this kicked off. Prior to that, I'm a qualified chef by trade. I spent 15 years in the catering industry, so had a good time. That hard graft, but very enjoyable. I spent 10 years working in the nighttime economy as a nightclub door supervisor. Not a bouncer. I'm not a bouncer. We were well trained, and we talked more fights down than we did deal with it physically, because that's the best way to deal with it, and you got more respect that way. I then I worked in the care industry for 2 or 3 years, and I worked with autism and Alzheimer's. That was an eye opener. That was bloody stressful. Which stress is not something I am a fan of. I do not like stress in any way, shape, or form, as evidenced by Friday morning, because I got engaged with a muppet or two on Twitter, which caused me stress. And I don't like stress. I know from a 3D world, biochemical point of view, using 3D science, if you like, I understand what stress does to the human body and the damage that it can cause. And it's not just mental stress. When you've got stress hormones running through your body, it's the physical damage that they can do as well, and that can be considerable. And over a period of time, that accumulative damage can lead to it, as it did with my dad. Lead to a really nasty event happening. I'll just touch on what happened with the old man. He was a long distance lorry driver. Knew every grub and transport caft stop in the land, could have written a guidebook to it. So his diet wasn't what you would call fantastic. Having said that, he was probably about 70% carnivore, 30% shit. So he was getting there in some way or another. But by the time he died, at 50 years old, he had a quadruple heart bypass. It was a serious one. This back in the day when they cracked your chest open and took an artery out of your leg and replaced the artery to your heart, to help you go again. And then he lasted another 14 years. He developed raging type 2 diabetes, which further led to ischemic heart disease, and everything clogged up again. And back in 2008, on the week before Christmas, 6 days before Christmas, on a Saturday evening, I had a phone call from my stepmom, and she said, "I'm sorry to say, but your dad's just passed away." And I said, "Oh, Christ." And I said, "God, what happened?" And she said, "Well, he was sat in his armchair. We were watching TV. I asked him if he would like a cup of tea. He said no thanks and sneezed. 15 seconds later was gone from a sneeze.
Blimey.
Yeah. So at 22 stone in weight, I don't know how you convert that to kilos or or what other pounds or whatever it is, but it was a lot of weight. I was 22 stone in weight and heading in very much the same direction. So at that point, I thought to myself, going to have to learn about what's going on because I don't want to go down the same route. And that started my journey into this. But after the catering, I had a business where I worked in the insolvency industry. And I networked and worked with a lot of insolvency practitioners and debt people. And I learned all about the banking industry and what a shit show that is. And just how we have been manipulated and ripped off by the banking industry. And I'm so pleased that what's happening right now is basically they're being dismantled, and it's coming to an end. And God bless the man with the golden hair and the orange skin.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says about that man. He is God as far as I'm concerned, and he's getting us through this, and he's going to get us out through the other side. But we need to stand. We need to get up, and we need to be behind him, and we need to be behind each other, and we need to be by the side of each other. And that comes with belief and acceptance that we are going in the right direction. And once you get that into your head and you understand that, just by going out and having a good look around and finding out what other information is out there, that changes everything. It's proven. It's as you think, so shall you reap. So if you change what your thinking is to something that you want, that will be the outcome. And we all need to figure this out quickly.
I think as well, you touched on there that the first step can be just researching for yourself and such. And I think that, I know for you, that was a start of your sort of journey in more than one way.
I was in debt in 2003, heavily in debt. And I went to a breakfast networking meeting for business. And I heard a guy stand up and talk about how he could help people get out of debt. And so I had a word with him and said, look, I'm up shit creek without a paddle. Can you help me out? And that's when I learned all about the insolvency industry and the banking system. So that was 2003. Then I kicked off with my own business a couple of years later in 2005. And for 4 or 5 years, I ran an insolvency business. I wasn't particularly successful because I was, you're helping people get out of debt, and charging them a fee for doing that is hard work. And I ended up helping a lot of people for free because some of these poor bastards were. I could quote an example. I was contacted by an elderly couple in my hometown, and I went down to see them, and they were both disabled, both having to use Zimmer frames, quite badly disabled people. And they had been sold what we call in the UK an individual voluntary arrangement, which is a slow form of bankruptcy. But you get to pay your debts back via the courts over a set period of time. And they were paying 400 quid a month to try and clear their debts off. They'd stopped their home help coming in to pay because they couldn't afford to pay the debt. So they stopped their home help coming in order to pay the debt. They should never have been sold that in the first place. Never have been sold it. And I went in and I said, right, quite clearly then this has to come to an end, and you need to go through personal bankruptcy. Not need to go through it, but this is my guidance for you. It's your choice to make, which they did. And when they had their interview, and I said, look, then they couldn't afford to pay, so I did it completely for free. And when they had the interview with the official receiver from the insolvency service, he found out that they'd been sold this individual voluntary arrangement via one of these sausage factories on TV that was advertising blatantly at the time. And he went absolutely nuts. He said, you should never have been sold this. And when he found out they'd stopped having their home help and care coming through the door to help them with their everyday life, cooking and washing and personal care. God, he went absolutely ballistic. I think I don't know exactly what happened, but he said he was going to go to town on this company
Yeah.
that they'd got this IVA through. So I hope he took them to task, but we got them through it. So, that's where I learned about the banking industry. Then, of course, Dad going with his type 2 diabetes. And incidentally, if you've got type 2 diabetes, it's a 95+% chance you are on your way to heart disease. So if you've got it, don't let it carry on. Please don't let it carry on. Do something about it, because you can do something about it. There's always a way to turn things around. Always.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so then I learned about the human body and health, and that's been my journey for the last 12 years. So I learned the banking industry and the insolvency industry, the catering industry, and the health and nutrition industry. And that's what's led me to where I'm going now. And then 8 months ago, of course, all this kicked off, and that led me to the letter.
What about your journey for inner peace?
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I've got to say, that's probably come in the last month. Because like everybody in the Twitter sphere, and we see it every single day, they're all going through their panic, their anger, their fear, their worry, and good moments of joy. And that's why they're on, in my opinion, that's why they're on Twitter. That's why I'm on Twitter, because there's so many good people out there.
Definitely.
And it's just a case of them, the great reset's coming. No, it ain't. Understand what's going on. Open your eyes. And just do a little bit more deeper digging and understand what's coming is really, really good. And if it ain't, look, what are you going to do? Stand there and take it? Hell no. Absolutely not. Are you going to stand there and take it? Somebody comes and knocking at your door, you're going to stand and you're going to go, fuck you. Here we go then. Because that's not an option. That's not on the cards.
Yeah.
But, it's going in the right direction. I know it's going in the right direction. And that's helped me why? Because I believe it, because of the information and the research that I've done to understand it. And that's helped me to find inner peace. And once you accept that, even if you think that it's not going in the right direction, acceptance is the key. And that will help you find inner peace, in my opinion, and that will help you to be able to make the decisions that you need to make it comes to that point.
As well, I think looking at from my perspective, with all these people who are really stressing out, everything that's going on, the world's in a bit of craziness right now, and all this warfare going on. But I think from a journalistic perspective, it is very, very much mainstream media pushed, because if you walked outside and looked outside, you step outside, go for a walk, you see none of that really whatsoever. No. But I think that in terms of relating that to inner peace, one of the first steps people can do, and you very much will agree with this, is don't look at the mainstream media, but in a way of, well, stop looking outwards at everything around you and start looking inwards.
Trust yourself.
And focusing on yourself. Because once you start focusing on yourself and your own personal development, your spiritual development, it doesn't even have to be, if some people don't even believe in spirit or that side of things, it would literally just be personal development and taking it that way and sort of thinking, well, what can I do to develop myself that will mean that I am no longer stressed about what's going on around me? What can I do to keep my focus off of that? And then once you start doing that, you stop caring, but in a good way. You don't care. And I think part of that is you start saying it as it is. You don't care about what people think about you. This is just surface level now. you don't care about what people think of you. You feel more comfortable to share your opinions and your thoughts, and then on a deeper level, that could take you further as well. I'm doing my own research, I'm figuring things out for myself, and then taking that a step further of sort of thinking, well, what more is there than just the things I've researched that are physical? You start thinking. I think it's one of them things that's difficult to avoid. Is once you start going down this journey for inner peace and personal development, you kind of automatically end up getting stuck on this. There is the line of, there is clearly so much more going on here than we actually know, and
Yeah.
that is part of the thing I realized.
It's not just this earthly plane.
Yeah,
absolutely
no.
not. Absolutely not.
So that's definitely part of the inner peace thing, and I think with what's happening, with what's going on in the world, is that there is this slow, awakening going on. It's not. I don't think now. I think before people sort of made it seem like it's just going to be, a flip of a switch, and it's all of a sudden everyone's just going to wake up in an instant. I think this has just been a really slow process.
Yeah.
But
can I use an analogy?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes,
We discussed this. We discussed this on Friday. I think we mentioned it, or at least I've discussed it with someone anyway. But when I worked in the insolvency industry, there's a couple of ways of borrowing money. One is unsecured and one is secured. So back in the day, I think that the limit is still £25,000 or whatever it is now. An unsecured debt is a credit card debt that isn't secured, or a loan or something like that, a form of finance that isn't secured against an asset that you own. So if you borrow that money, the company that's lent you, or the institution that's lent you the money, knows that they may not get that money back, but they're not worried about that, because if they can't get their money back, they know they've got a recourse via which to go to try and get their money back. But before they do that, they will shout and scream. And back in the day when I was seriously in debt, boy, did they shout and scream. It was 70 to 80 telephone calls a day. And that's a lot for anybody to take. But they do shout and scream and throw their toys out the pram and threaten all sorts of things. Now, if you borrow money and it's secured against an asset, for example, such as a property that you own, they're not going to shout and scream. They're going to send you a letter and say, you haven't paid your debt, please pay it. And if you can't do that, they'll take you to court, nice and quietly, and they will secure their debt properly against the asset and then remove the asset via repossession to pay their debt, because they are absolutely 100% confident on how they're going to do that. But the guys that have lent the money unsecured are shouting and screaming because they know they're going to struggle to get their money back. The mainstream media is an unsecured creditor, shouting and screaming and throwing its toys out of the pram. And whilst it's shouting and screaming and throwing its toys out of the pram, you're looking at it and you're hearing it, and that's where your focus is to. Put yourself in the position of the creditor that knows he's going to get his money back. Stop worrying. Stop worrying. Be more calm. It's like you've just said. It's just a case of removing your focus from what you think is going on and looking elsewhere to what is actually going on. And once you figure out what is actually going on, boy, does that help. It it really helps. Once you understand what's really going on, oh God, is that it? Is that it? And even if these guys over here are shouting and screaming and throwing their toys out of the pram, they've still got to get their money back. How are they going to do that? You haven't got any assets. So once you figure out, I haven't got any assets, they're still not going to get their money back, but they're still going to shout and scream. Who has the power? You do. Because they can't get their money back. But you've got the power. That is why they are shouting and screaming and throwing their toys out of the pram. Because they know you have the power and there's fuck all they can do about it.
Exactly. And this whole power is just, you know, it's one of the things, looking at it from an inner peace perspective, it's everyone has this power within themselves.
Yes.
But so many people don't realize it because, like you said, the mainstream media like to shout and scream, and they really do. And I mean, God, do I know that from just, you know, studying journalism, the tactics that they use, you know, physical tactics of, you know, like on the BBC, when you know, a lot of people won't think about this, but it is one of them, you know, shout and scream tactics of when you know, if you turn on the BBC and you just get it as it's starting, it has that intro that's all like do. It's all like really dramatic and in your face, and like they make it. This is true story because I learned it at uni that from my lecturer who used to actually work in the video editing department many years ago. She said that the reason they put that on, and along with the breaking news bit where it's all like the deep bass line in the back, is to make it like a movie and to make it not interesting, but as if people are watching a thriller movie or a blockbuster movie, because one, it keeps your attention, and two, it puts you on edge. So that's why they do it. And it is one of them shout, scream tactics of, you know, look over here, oh my God, and all that sort of thing. And I mean, when I heard that in lecture, I thought, that is like, it goes, to me, it completely goes against the whole thing of the code of you have to be fair and impartial and not biased. Well, you know, you're making it dramatic, so it's not fair and impartial. You've already gone in with this bias of, I'm going to create it like a movie and I'm going to, you know, put everyone on edge. But as well, I just think the simple way to just stop that is just stop watching it. And I feel, you know, you've been a broken record with that, because the main thing is, for me, when I turn on, sometimes I still do, I turn on the BBC, I just want to see it, just to be nosy. Like, you know what? Let's go see what they're doing. And instantly, I just feel angry because I just think, I can spot the lies now. I can see where they're doing the things. But then I think, why am I watching this? Because it's making me feel a bit shit inside. And not only that, it just sort of makes, well, why the, and I do ask a question every time I watch this, why the hell are they doing this? But then, you know, it just takes me a moment to think, well, it's putting people on edge. You're not going to find any sort of inner peace or, you know, be able to sort of develop yourself if you're watching this, because it's completely, it's anti-peace. It's wanting to disrupt everything.
It's just slow yourself down. It's, you know, if somebody slaps you round the face, that hurts. You immediately go, you know, response is either to run like hell or clout the individual that's slapping you
give him
the
a good
face
wallop back
really hard. You know, why? Because you don't like it. Why don't you like it? Because it's painful. If it's painful, are you going to let that happen again? No. So what are you going to do about it? Not get engaged with someone like that, or learn to recognize that somebody could be like that so that you don't come across them or encounter them. It's a series of questions. It's to my mind anyway, a series of questions. Well, I don't like that. It's eating a new food for the first time. It's either, oh wow, that's amazing, or that's disgusting. So you know full well, if it's disgusting, are you going to eat it again? No. So why in the name of fucking God, apologies for the profanity in that way, but why in the name of the big man or lady or entity upstairs are you putting yourself through that if you don't like it? If you don't like it, change it. Do something about it. And when you change and do something about it, that's when you can start to look properly inside properly, and and look and find that inner peace. And that's what I've managed to get to a degree, pretty much most of the way there with regard to that. Now, we've had this conversation before. In the past, I've had ideas to do things, and I would make that suggestion about, so I'd see something, for example, online, or I'd have an idea and say to someone, do you know what, I think this is going to be an absolute goer. And the person you're talking with doesn't see it. And they respond to you by saying, oh, no, I think that's a load of crap. That's not going to work.
Oh, yeah.
And you allow their doubt, and their negativity to affect your decision. And you allow that to prevent you and stop you from doing that. And the bitch thing about it is that most of the things that you have ideas about, certainly I've had ideas about and wished I'd taken them forward, have proven to be, a very short space of time later, successful. And I go, bugger, I wish I'd gone forward with that, because somebody else has done that now. But that was me allowing it all. Everything stops with you. Buck stops here. Nobody else, absolutely nobody else. The buck stops with you. So if you've got an idea, you've got a thought, or you're looking, you don't like something, you're the one that can take responsibility for it. You have to take responsibility for it. And when you do that, life becomes so much more pleasant. It really does. It's just a case of, I don't like that. I don't like the idea of the Great Reset. Well, change it then.
I think it's one of the things.
Stop giving them the consent to move forward with their plan, and stop believing that because they're the ones with lots of money, and they're the ones that are appearing on TV, and they're the ones that are shouting and screaming about it, that it's going to go forward. No, it ain't.
It's a plan for a reason. Plans don't always work. Plans don't always get put in place. So
yeah.
But coming back to what you said there with you said you had loads of ideas of things, and I think it's one of them things that applies to everyone. I can definitely relate to that, is in terms of when people get told no, especially now, they just sort of roll over and take it, whereas it is literally, like you said, personal responsibility. If you need to sort of make that call, if someone tells you no, it's, well, what are you going to do about it if it's something you really want to do? Because in essence, in my case, I have been told no quite a lot in terms of the stuff that I do, especially by people, and it's always the people who are bigger than you. Always the people who are bigger than you. It's not hard to be bigger than me anyway, being 5'1", but looking at it that way. But literally, at university, when I was asked what I want to do, I got told essentially no, because it's not going to work. It'll be a waste of time. You're never going to make money from it. You're never going to, be a proper journalist. It's sort of implied of, well, if you do that, you're going to put journalists to shame, because you are essentially, in their eyes, I am essentially a far right wing, white supremacist, conspiracy theorist. That is what I would essentially be classed as. But I got told no. And it's like, dude, it's one of them things. I could have easily turned around and thought, you know what? They're right. I'm never gonna do the thing I want to do. So in that case, I could just go do a graduate apprenticeship or a graduate internship at BBC. I could do PR and do all that and earn a decent amount of money. but also look at it with, would I have any inner peace? No, because I'd hate my job and I'd hate what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's just all people need to realise, and this is the thing with, this is what I think with the lockdown has backfired massively.
Oh, hugely.
Is people are realising they don't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
They don't want to do their really, really slaving away jobs anymore. And they want to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Be it, doing something creative,
Yeah.
something to do with music, and going off and living in another country in the middle of nowhere, having literally anything. They're realizing they don't want to do it anymore.
This kind of gets back. Sorry to interrupt, sweetheart.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, because this gets back to the by design thing.
Yeah.
Is they in kill brackets, they have by design pushed us all in this direction.
Exactly.
And us by design have allowed it to happen. It's a two-way street. It is a two-way street. It's not just their fault. It's ours as well.
They've put this in place. They've put everything in place for, thousands of years for us peasants to be stuck in jobs, stuck doing all this stuff no one wants to do, and just sort of see the day as you wake up, you have breakfast, you go to work, you come back, you have tea. Next day, you wake up, you have breakfast, you go to work, come back. They programming, that's the word here.
That's what it is.
Programming. And, because of that, people just assume that's what life is. Yeah. Whereas I think when people reach or start to get a little bit of inner peace, a little bit of fire in them, they start realizing it, actually the world isn't built to, be us working at huge corporations and working under someone so they get lots of money and we, come back home with the little tiny crumbs.
Yeah.
The whole world is built for everyone to live on the world together and to actually do things that help not only the earth, help ourselves, but help other people. That's the whole premise as to why we are here. And, part of our journey is to, I think, and we're at a pivotal point in history right now, is for people to actually learn that. And I think the biggest part of where we are in history is people are learning that. It's not about all these elites getting exposed for, the dirty stuff they do behind closed doors. That's a little bit of it. It's the other side of it, of people not only realizing that goes on, that the world is more than just, waking up in the morning and doing all this stuff they don't want to do, that the world is more than being physical, but also that, they're the ones, who can make the decisions what they want to do, and they can do it. And I think part of the reason they feel they can't is because they've been told they can't, and they've also been told that if they do that, it'll end badly, so they're too scared to do it. Because, if I decided tomorrow I could just go on holiday, live in another country, I could do it. But of course they're going to say you're not going to be able to do it. But the point is, I could do it. I'm not gonna because I don't really want to, but it's a point.
No, but the great thing is, you can change your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the great thing. That is the great thing. If you decide that that's what you want to do, it's again, as you think, so shall you reap. If you decide that that's what you want to do, you'll find a way to do it. Yeah. And that's what we're saying here is that, if you're looking down in the dumps, if you're looking down here, and that's all you're seeing, just do yourself a favour. Kick yourself up the arse and start looking up there, because there's a whole other world out there that's there. and
You
you've just got
touched
to
on
find it.
wants. Sorry to interrupt, but you touched
No.
on the whole thing of wants, and I remember saying about this the other day to you, on Friday, with this whole thing of wanting is because I'm reading a book on remote viewing, and he was saying he is the guy who wrote the book called David Morehouse, I think he's called, and he is a top remote viewer, worked part of Stargate as a psychic spy, really, really, really awesome guy. His whole first chapter was about inner peace. His whole first chapter is about inner peace. And he was saying the only way you can find inner peace is if you stop looking outwards and start looking inwards. And part of looking inwards is sort of realizing that, you know, when people say there's more to this world, it's an inner thing. It's an inner thing because we are part of the stars and the universe, and that's inside everyone. They just have to look inwards, but also weighing up wants and needs, because when people say they want something, they usually don't need it, because you know, when you want something, it's like I don't want to say it's selfish, but it's just that sort of, I guess you could say, the human aspect of us that wants that thing. Whereas, you know, you need to weigh up what you need, because, and once you start realizing your wants and needs, your needs end up becoming your wants, and it all balances out, is what he was saying. It's, I don't know, in my brain it's very complicated and it's all interconnected, and try to explain. He would be much better explaining it than me, but I think, you know,
Isn't that the great thing though? Is you
yeah,
get to say that, yeah. You might feel that you're not good at explaining it, but it doesn't matter.
exactly.
Seriously, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're getting your message across. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what
the
this is
best,
about.
and I think the important thing, if people realize, is for inner peace, this whole thing we're talking about throughout here is look inwards.
Yeah.
Stop looking outwards.
Yeah.
When you want something, really ask yourself, why do you want that? Do you need it? Like the guy who wrote the book, he said he always wanted to write the book. So he knew that he didn't need to write the book. If he didn't write the book, wouldn't make a difference, because he would still be doing what he's doing. And his journey was teaching people remote viewing. He'd still be doing that. So he didn't need to write the book. But then, you know, get to him 10 years later, he wrote the book, because at that point he needed to write the book, because everything fell in place for him to actually realize, yeah, I need to write this book. So your wants can become needs. But, you know, I think this like you said, the world is by design, and it encourages people to want things rather than need things.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's a whole part of the thing. With when you find a bit of inner peace, you start actually realizing
Trust
things
your
you
intuition.
need. Exactly, there, you hit it on the head.
Trust
Your
your
gut
intuition.
feeling.
Yes. Trust your intuition. It's not about, I can't tell people to stop doing things. I do that on my tweet, stop watching the TV, stop it, because, for fuck's sake, just switch the damn thing off. Trust your gut. Trust your intuition. If it doesn't feel right, and I know we all work differently, some sort of like, what's it, the audio visual kinetic stuff, or whatever you call it, I don't know what they call that stuff, but if you work that in different ways, fine. But if it doesn't feel right to you, don't bloody do it. Stop. And if it's not feeling good, if you're not feeling good, ask yourself why you're not feeling good, because there's a reason you're not feeling good. I'm not feeling good because I'm listening to the BBC. Well, if you're not feeling good because you're listening to the BBC, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to carry on watching and listening to the BBC? Well, yeah. Why? It doesn't make you feel good. What can you do to prevent you feeling shit? What can you do to make yourself feel good and feel better? Switch off the BBC. Yes, switch off the BBC.
Yeah.
Come
I think
on. Do you like punishment, for crying out loud? It's God's sake, switch it off.
Once you start relying on your intuition, like that is like a one step. You start, doing it with everything. Like
that's what clicked into place about 4 to 6 weeks ago for me. That's what clicked into place. And it's, I can't now. I mean, some people may well class it as, or put it into a category of, oh, well, you're just denying things. No, not at all. I'm not denying things. I'm not denying anything. I just don't want to watch it, listen to it, see it, hear it, think it, or anything like that, because I know what outcome I want. And so that outcome is what I will look for. And that's the direction I'm going to move into, because I don't like that one over there. And I don't want to be part of that one over there. I want to be part of that one over there. If you want to stay there, that's your choice, your free will. Don't put that on to me. Absolutely don't put that on to me. Don't pull me down.
Once people start realizing how powerful intuition is, and I think a lot of people do, like, it's the saying of listen to your gut feeling, it's for a reason. It's such a powerful thing. And I mean, you start relying on it for everything then. And I think people don't realize that is such a powerful thing. Like when you watch something and you have a funny gut feeling about it, or in my case, my gut stood in front of a box of pork scratchings I just ordered. My gut feeling is telling me to eat them. In that sense, yeah. But I think when people start realizing how powerful it is, and intuition is just like one of them tools people can use to really better themselves.
Yeah.
Once you start listening to it, it's like, even if even if I think it's not only a safety thing. Well, it is a safety thing. It's all a safety thing, because you hear people say, like, I was walking down the street and I was going to go down a certain alleyway, but my gut told me not to do it, so they don't do it. It is a safety thing. So, but the same should be applied, really. Well, when you hear something on the BBC and your gut tells you it's a bit funny, then maybe you should question what they're actually saying to you, because
it's the other you go for a job interview and you sit in front of the job interviewer and he says, we're here to see whether you're suitable for the job. My immediate thought process says, actually, I'm here to see whether this job is suitable for me.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the first people,
I'm not here to prove to you, this may not be right for me. This is a two-way street here, not just one-sided. If you believe that it's one-sided, thanks very much, but no, I'm off. Not at all. Absolutely not.
I think people should take that attitude throughout life. Like,
yeah,
I think that the one thing I've started realizing along my journey, especially, and I saw you tweet this the other day, is part of finding a bit more peace and coming to terms with things is it is a two-way street, in terms of you have to be yourself and be that way to find peace. All about sort of being yourself and looking inwards, all that sort of thing. But the people around you, they have to put in the effort, and they have to be accepting as well. And you tweeted something that really stood out to me, was that along this journey you lose a lot of friends, you lose a lot of people, and in some cases you lose jobs, all that sort of stuff. And it's or you can't work a job because there's just more to life that you need to achieve, and you can't do that in a dead-end job. But when I was thinking about what you tweeted there, I think this applies with what you're saying with two-way street of, when I started going down this sort of journey, this path, a lot of people stopped talking to me. And it was a lot of people who I'm still, quite surprised about. But it's people who I've been friends with for years, who I would, class as some of my bestest friends, have very quietly sort of stopped putting in the effort, if that makes sense. Not that they've come out and said I'm a liar or crazy. They do it very quietly. Or some people have been very outspoken and saying that I'm posting disinformation, and they can say what they like. That's fine by me. But yeah, you lose a lot of people along the way. But I think, it's a necessary thing that needs to happen, because
look at what you gain.
it's part of the journey. It's part of this
look
inner
at what you
peace
gain.
thing, because
Look at
it's
what you
like having
find.
it's like having baggage.
Yeah.
I don't want to describe people as baggage, but in looking at it in a sort of sense of, when you're doing something and you're pursuing what you want to do, you're going on a life journey. You're telling your friends about, these things I'm learning, I'm developing, especially applies to everyone, is good people, not good people, think about how to word that, people your true tribe would be accepting. The people around you would be, it's a two-way street, like you said, they would be receptive and accepting, even if they disagreed. So, this, I would say this is a message to people watching, in terms of, if you start losing friends and if you start losing things in your life because you're going down a particular path of, I guess some would call it awakening, it's not a bad thing, even if it feels like it. Because, I mean, when I saw your tweet about it and you saying it's so true that, you lose stuff. Well, yeah, flip everything. Of, well, what have you gained from it? You've gained friends online. I certainly have. You certainly have. We all certainly have. Everyone watching. You've gained.
Well, if you take the example of my ex closest friend, when we started talking about this back when all this kicked off, during the summer, and he couldn't get his head around what I was saying about that 17th letter for the alphabet stuff. And so, and I said, look, it could well be a psyop for all I know. But as far as I can see, it's a damn positive one. And it encourages you to go and think for yourself and research for yourself. I said, which is what I've done. And he said, but you can't prove anything. I said, no. And he said, well, the way you're putting things across, he said, I'm a literal person. I said, fantastic, good for you. He said, so you have to put it to me in a literal way. I said, no, I don't. Not at all. That's not my role. I'm a people person, maybe an entertainer, a storyteller, something like that. That's how I function. Your role is to take what I've said and go and find out for yourself if what I've said is accurate. Well, no, it's the way you put things across. I don't like that. And I said, well, that's your problem, not mine.
Exactly.
And if you're getting that, if anybody's watching this and you're getting that, just hold on to that. That is their challenge, their issue, their problem, not yours. You're doing good. You're doing really, really good.
And trust me, when I say, for a long, long time, I believed, I always, in my sort of friendship group, treated as the sort of spiritual conspiracy theorist nut job who's very quiet and sort of keeps herself to herself. That's how I was treated. Didn't bother me in any way, but I think it's, people just need to be, when you lose a friend, it sucks, it hurts, but it's because there's people out there who think the same way you do, who will get attracted to you, and then you'll find them, and then you'll be friends with them.
Yeah,
it's the way I see it. Like right now,
absolutely.
I mean, I still talk to a lot of my, real life friends and such, and I still love them all. But I now know that I can't really talk to them about this stuff.
No.
Because they will think I'm insane. But that's fine. Because now I have friends who really care about this stuff, who I can talk to. And if it means that people who I used to be friends with drift out of my life, so be it. You just have to sort of go with the flow with that sort of
There's
thing.
nothing you can do about that. That is their choice. It comes back to that free will thing again,
Free will.
and it's, yeah,
Mm.
that's what it comes back to, in my opinion. It's all about the personal responsibility. You've taken that responsibility to find out and to understand and to learn and to push yourself forward, move, increase your knowledge base, whatever it is. You've taken that choice. If they don't see that or don't want to come along for the ride, not a lot you can do about it. It's just
Plus,
nothing
I
you can do
think,
about it.
sorry to cut in there, but
Go on.
I think it comes back to the life plan side of things as well.
Yeah.
Because free will, definitely, but I think the people you meet in your life, you meet for a reason. It's like you. What were the chances that me and you were going to have met ever?
Mm-hmm.
You
No.
know what I mean? It's
Well,
insane.
you're a fair few hundred miles away from me, so a face-to-face meet is never going to be.
Probability was insane that we'd ever come across each other, but we did, and I think it's for a reason. And obviously, part of that reason was health, but it's bigger than that because now we're doing this, we're doing things. We're friends. We talk. It's for a reason. So I think in people's life paths, they, might have a certain group of friends for so long, and then they drift off, and then, further down the line, they've got some new friends, and then them friends they have for the rest of their life. But then, it all comes and goes because it's all tying into, it's for a reason, because what do you learn from that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if you have a friend and you fall out, you will learn a lesson there, don't you? Everyone's done it.
Yeah.
And you've learned a lesson from it.
Yeah.
So if people start, realizing that, they have the free will and everyone around them has free will, then, I think it all ties into inner peace. You sort of realize you sort of go in with the flow of life then. You really do. You go with the flow of life and you see it as, well, so be it, because that's obviously meant to happen. And then at that point as well, you sort of become a better person for it, because again, it's developing yourself.
It's, you for a long time, it was a case of, I don't like hurting people. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. That's going to happen. You're going to piss people off. People will get hurt. That is their choosing to do that. And in some ways, you'll go through the same emotions and experiences as well. But it's something that we all must do. Something that we all must go through.
And as well, it's like the life, it's by design as well.
Yeah.
Because I think, the whole thing of the world being by design is encouraged people to be on edge, easily offended.
Yes. Yeah.
And such. So then you can't say it as it is. You can't be so, being able to stand up for yourself and say whatever you like. I know for me, back in 2016, when there was all the, Brexit stuff going on, I would have never dreamed of saying to, making it public that I supported Brexit, or that I was a massive, that was the year of Trump and Hillary, and I wouldn't have made it public that I supported Trump. I would have never dreamed it, ever, because, it was so divisive. Whereas now, this year, it's, found a bit more inner peace, a bit more of, well, so be it, that I could not care less what I say, because if someone asked me, do you like Trump? I would say yeah. And, I've made it clear that is the case. And I think I've applied that to a lot of aspects of life of, if someone says, it's as simple as saying no, because I think people don't realize that they can say no.
Yeah.
And that is the whole thing, that they just don't realize that, as simple as someone says, do you want to go, to lunch tomorrow? before I would have dreamed of having to think, if I don't go, they're not gonna like me, blah blah blah, all that bollocks. Then you sort of realise that, well, you can just say no.
Yeah.
End of. And I just apply that to everything and actually stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And once people start saying no, then, you know, things would change. You just look at the whole, you know, flu, what's going on, and all that, this stuff that's, you know, the lockdowns. If people complain about it, then what are you going to do about it? Well, say no. Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah, it's, you know, you're moaning and bitching about it. You know, for a start, have you looked into it properly? Oh, but the government said, yeah, right, okay. If the government has said and you don't like what's going on, have you asked yourself the question, is the government telling you the truth? Is the BBC telling you the truth? Oh, yeah. Are you sure about that? Are you absolutely sure about that? Because here I am walking into the same shop as you without a mask on. And I'm fine. I've been fine all the way through this.
Exactly.
I've caught one sniffle. Understand that the light outside how it affects me at a cellular level and what it does for my body. Understand that the temperature changes in this, you know, at certain times of the year affect what happens with your body. Understand that the foods that I eat have a certain effect on my body. Movement, how that affects my body. You know, go to the gym 3 times a week. Why? I train once a week. And it has exactly the same effect as 3 times a week. But I get some really good recovery in, and that allows my body to repair properly, because what works for me might not work for you. So find out what actually goes for you, what works for you, how you function. And once you learn that, apply it. Don't ignore it. Don't push it to one side. Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition, and know that what Em and I know is there's some good stuff coming.
Yeah.
And once you figure that out and you get on board with the program, your life is going to be so good. It really is going to be so good.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground, and
we've rabbited a lot.
I think we should wrap up with a sort of coming back to inner peace. What would be your final message you want to get across to people watching?
Oh, that's a good one. You should go first on that one, because you know, you put me on the spot there.
All right, I'll let you have a moment to think.
Yeah.
My final thoughts on inner peace. I know we've covered a lot of ground, and it seems like we've covered a lot of topics, but I think they all tie up very nicely into the whole idea of inner peace. Starts with you. You are the one who makes the decisions of, not, you know, as simple as physically, you know, like we've said, turning off the TV, not looking at mainstream media, making decisions for yourself, researching for yourself. All of that is you doing that. You have the choice to do that, and it all will lead to some form of inner peace. You're not going to wake up one day and just magically be, you know, able to float around like a monk because you're so at peace, but you can start that way by making small changes. And like we've said, listening to your gut and tuning in with yourself for starters, because once you start listening to what you want and what you need, most importantly what you need, then you can be more at peace with yourself, and then you'll start letting go of the things you don't need. And the things you don't need are the things around you that are happening, that are causing you internal conflict. So once you start looking inward and listening to yourself, that is the best thing that anyone can do. And I can, you know, I can say for certain that is the case, because once I started doing that, once I started listening to myself and what I need, a lot of the worries that I used to have, very superficial worries, they just went away, and you become extra focused, and you stop caring, but in a good way. So my message to everyone is, you are the change you can make. You are the change. You have it in you to do whatever you want. You have the power to say no to things. You have the power to start looking inwards and developing yourself. And if you think watching this and thinking we're chatting a load of rubbish and you don't know what all this spiritual journey, personal development is, maybe just start little baby steps of starting being kinder to yourself and looking inwards, and then you'll realise and it all kick off from there.
I don't know there's much I can add to that. Self-love is definitely what you say to yourself. If if I work with someone who has got type 2 diabetes, for example, the first question I said, do you like feeling this way? No. Okay. So what are we going to do to change it? I don't know. Okay. Would it help if I help you to understand how you function? Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Once I've done that, and you've got that knowledge, do you think it will help you to make the changes required to turn that situation around? Yes. Great. Ask yourself the question, do I like this? Do I feel good? Do I want to feel this way for the rest of my life? If your answer is no, you don't like it, then it's down to you. It's beholden to you to make the change. Find out and make the change for yourself. That's what I can add to what Em's just said. It's been an absolute pleasure this morning.
Yeah, I think
thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope everybody, we've rabbited and blethered and so on and so forth, and I hope everybody can get something from this. What we say may not be true to you, and that's your choice. You don't have to like what we say, you don't have to believe what we say, but this is how we work. And this is how we get on.
Our plans for this is to just cover all. It's nothing serious. It's informal. It's a conversation. It's a nice chat, exactly. And we're going to be covering topics, everything, anything and everything. And if people want to see a certain topic discussed, then tell us. If people want to come on, just come on. Yeah, because we want to have that's people what we want. On.
Lots of people coming on and having a gas and a yap and a laugh and a joke and some fun.
Exactly.
We really want to enjoy this, and we would love for you to come on and just say what you want to say. Don't come on and be negative, because you'll get some shit from me if you're going to do that. So come on with a good positive mind, and just help everybody to move forward.
Exactly.
And grab yourself a cup of coffee or whatever it is you like to drink. Vino, if that's your case. I don't anymore, but if you want to sit and have a glass of wine and a chat with us on the tube, then please do come on. Yeah. We would love to have you on. We really would. If it doesn't matter what the subject is, it can be that letter between the 17th letter of the alphabet. If you're into that, great, fantastic. Because the more we know about that, the plan, the better. And I think the plan's in its final stages, if I'm really honest. But then the hard work starts when that plan comes to an end, and that is all down to us.
Yeah, it's as simple as if you wanted to even talk about something that's happened to you in your life, and it's you've got some interesting stories to share, or you've had a spooky paranormal experience, or
we're into that.
Exactly, and we really want to hear it. Anything.
Well, we've got to hear a lot more about how you've been raised and what and,
that'll be another one for sure. But honestly,
that's an area where we really want to go down.
We've got a couple of people interested already, which is really awesome.
Fabulous.
But please, if you really want to come on and have a good old waffle, good old chinwag, just really get in touch with us. Do you want to say what your Twitter is and a bit of how people can get in touch with you?
You can find me Twitter, really. I am on Facebook, but I can't stand Facebook. I have very few friends on there, so don't bother. But Twitter, at Who's Afeard, at WHOSAFFEARD. That's how they've done it, so that's how I put it. But you can look for Who's Afeard on Twitter and follow me, and like any stupid bollocks that I put out, if you like, or not, as the case may be.
You can find me on Twitter at DareToFly777. You'll no doubt find Who's a Fid on there because I retweet him a fair bit, so you'll easily find him on my timeline and can follow him. But yeah, just get in touch with us. I'm happy for people to message me or whatsoever, DM me or anything if they want to, or just talk about anything.
Can I just add, we're going to be getting some good health guys on as well, because I have a lot of contacts in the health world. I know some really good people that will be able to come on and give you lots of decent advice and help in respect to that as well. So keep your eyes open for that, because that's going to be a good thing.
So all the links to following us will be down in the description box below, along with ways you can support the channel and what we're doing. So I'll include them below. And I guess my final message, as always, I like to say is stay awake, stay true to yourself, stay blessed. I hope everyone has a wonderful, blessed day wherever they are in the world. And as always, fly high, fear less. Do you want to add anything to the end of that?
I love you all.
Yay!
Yeah,
we love you lots.
All. Don't be scared, gang. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Yeah? Come and join us and have some fun. Yes.
Yeah. Love you all. Right, bye everyone.